Okay, and it's 1 o'clock, so we're going to start another episode here of our Wednesday Technology Professional Development. This week, we're going to have a couple students, as we normally do, a couple invitees. I'll let them introduce themselves when we get to that point. As far as the topics this week, we have three main tools that we're going to be talking about and covering. Our first is going to be Flipgrid, and we have one of our students going to be covering that, what Flipgrid is, how it works, how we might use it in the classroom. The next one we'll talk about is called Pear Deck, and now that's one that we have been using the free version of it for a couple weeks, so some of our teachers, but we've actually bought a district-wide license for the full version. So I'm going to show you some of the things that you can do with the pro version that you can't do with the free version, some of the more tools there that are available. And then if there's time, again, we do a pretty good job, I hope, keeping to that 1:30 deadline. I know other people have more meetings. So at 1:30, if there's still time, I'm going to talk a little bit about Padlet, how you might use that in the classroom and what that means and what is it and what we can do with that. So that's the plan for the day. As always, if you have any questions, thank you, Jillian. Go ahead and throw those in the chat. So I'm going to introduce our moderator for the day, Bree, if you're available.
Yes, I'm Bree. I'm a sophomore, and I'm being moderated today. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat box. And we have Allie. She is a senior, and she's going to be teaching us about Flipgrid today. So go ahead, Allie.
All right, I am going to throw my presentation on for you. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Allison Grozick, and I will be teaching you guys about Flipgrid today. And that should be coming up for you guys. All right. All right, so what is Flipgrid? Flipgrid is a message board-like platform that allows educators to post discussions for their students, and then they can proceed to respond with videos, pictures, and it's a more interactive version of just posting a question and then having students respond with a prompt. And there is a more interactive aspect of it where teachers can respond to students and students can respond to other students with the videos. So when you post a discussion on Flipgrid, it is fully customizable settings, and you can make those very specific to each post, and you can edit those options later. You have the option to include examples/directions when you post the video. And there are sharing options that are unique to each one, and I'll talk about those. And you can also have little fun editings before you can post the videos. So the customizable settings are specific for each discussion post, and you can change the different filters that the students have. You can change the video comments. You can allow students to even have the editing access. You can turn on or off the link that students can include with their videos. And then there are a few other ones, like you can see in the screenshot, the likes was off just for the example one, but you can allow students to like other students' responses. And with the media section, after you've created your post, you can include one of these ways to engage or direct students. And the one that comes up first is a record a video. And that would be where you would include directions, examples, and kind of just give them an idea of what they're doing along with the prompt that was included. And the sharing options that Flipgrid allows, the most common way, which I'm going to put in the chat, was the link included. You share the link with the students and they can be taken right there, but you can also add in student emails. And then there's a third option with student username. The public with the join code is the easiest option. And if you're in a Google Meet, you could just post it in the chat. The student email, you can add individual students if that was more specific, like you had a small group or working on a project, and you can incorporate using Flipgrid with that. And the student username was more so outside of Google. And in case like they didn't have a Google account, you could create individual usernames for your students. And then when editing the videos, there are cute little filters, stickers, and frames, more so just add-ons And Flipgrid is extremely user-friendly. And when you are creating the post and changing your settings, there are all different descriptions and little things along the way that make it extremely easy to use. And I have an example one that I will go ahead and share with you guys if you want to see the student's perspective of how Flipgrid works. So I will go ahead and paste that link in the chat.
Do you want them to go on and click on it and open it up?
Yes, if they are able to, click on that link, and then you can see as it walks through that there are very clear instructions. And the description just says to add a quick video. You don't have to actually add it if you don't want to, but you can play around with the different effects. And if you do add the video, you can add a video comment on another response if you'd like to.
So while they're playing with it, I'll ask you a couple of questions, Ellie. Now you've set this up as a teacher, like for other students. How hard was that?
On a scale of 1 to 10, it was maybe a 1 at most. There are very clear instructions using Flipgrid. When you hit the discussion part of the webpage, as an educator, there's a blue button that says add a topic, and then it walks you through it. There are different sections, starting off with your title for your topic, and then there's a prompt. You can alter the recording time, the captions, and then with the rest of the options as you're creating it, there are little captions underneath explaining which one does which, and I think it's extremely user-friendly.
That's good, because so from the other side, as a student, you've done it as well. And again, how was that?
Again, very, very easy. All you have to do is hit record a response, and it pops up with one record button. And if with the effects is totally cosmetic, fun to play around with, but adding the effects before is really easy.
All right, Allie, we have a question. So can you explain topics versus groups?
All right, once I can pull it up. So the topics versus groups, did that question mean the topics, like titling it? Because when you create a Flipgrid, they can have the title, but it says add a title for your topic.
Yeah, I think that's what I think the idea is covered. The topic of that individual video.
Yes.
Different than kind of groups where you have groups of students, right? You might have like an entire class or, you know, multiple classes in one group.
I guess to clarify my question, so if, let's say I was using a Flipgrid for the entire school, but I want to group it by grade level, 5, 6, 7, 8, would I use, because I've seen that offering of groups and topics, but I haven't, I don't know, I just haven't played with it enough to understand how they actually work. I didn't know if you were able to elaborate a little bit on that.
Once it switches to the educator one for me, because I'm currently pulled up how to create a discussion using the groups.
I think, yeah, and I think it has to do with this, you know, going out versus coming in. So the topic that you create as like, I'm going to ask this question, and you create that as a topic, as a question kind of. And the reason why they call it topic rather than question is because it doesn't have to be a question. It could be anything. You just want to explain something or whatever. And the group is, who is it going to go to? Is it one subset? Is it your Google Classroom? Is it everybody? Is it, you know, who's going to see that response and then give it back to you? So one is kind of going out from you as a teacher, and one is how you're going to collect them back, I think. Any other questions? Yes, you're welcome, Ron. I think we're good. All right. Thank you, girls, very much. I appreciate you guys taking the time on your Wednesday to come in and teach us a little bit about Flipgrid. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yes,
You're
thank
very
you.
welcome. Bye, girls. You're welcome to stay if you want to learn about Pear Deck. We're going to talk about that next, but you don't have to. So let me pull up my screen here. All right. So we're now going to talk about Pear Deck. Just to kind of one final button on the idea of Flipgrid. It is free. It does work very, very well. It connects to your Google account and with students. It also has a Google Classroom feature. So if you want to integrate it with Classroom, you can do that. The biggest thing I would say as a teacher, the benefit I think is it's a really easy way for you to collect video or audio recordings from your students. Again, it's only with you, so they're not going to go to everywhere unless you want them to. It's not going to publish. But that back and forth, it's super easy. We're doing it now, obviously, synchronously at the same time through Google Meet, that kind of stuff. But if you want students to have an asynchronous way to record something, to give it to you, kind of that back and forth, Flipgrid is a great tool for that purpose. All right, shifting gears, talking a little bit about Pear Deck. Now, we've mentioned this before in the last couple of weeks or so. We've mentioned about Pear Deck, but as I mentioned earlier in the session, we do have the pro version now. And kind of explain what the differences are. So the first thing is if you have any Google slideshow and you want to add that layer of interactivity, that Pear Deck layer on top of it, in a Google slideshow here up at the top, I'm going to click on add-ons. And if you don't have it here, it may already be showing you here, Pear Deck for add-ons. Click Get Add-ons, and you'll search for Pear Deck, P-E-A-R-D-E-C-K. What it does, we'll load it here. There are many templates, as you guys many have seen. I can also add audio. I think we mentioned that last week was with the audio component here. Grab a template from template library. I can look at one of these. Here's math, science, different topics. Look at a science one. So all of these you can grab, and then you can add, maybe they're dragging something, maybe they're drawing something that they're doing with it. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to start the lesson, and I'll put the link in the chat so that you can join and you can follow along. But the big thing is to see what the dashboard component of it. So when you start it, you can do it as instructor pace. That means I'm having you go through every slide. You can't go ahead of the slides that I give you. The other alternative is student pace. Now, the benefit of this, why this is really useful, is you may have a live lesson that you're teaching your students in class, or some might be remote. You're using instructor pace where you're walking through step by step. But after you're done, you want the students that were always remote, that weren't there live with you, to be able to go through that same content. And you can just switch that over to student pace, and they can go through click by click. So it's super handy that way. I'll pull this up. This is going to give you a code. So if you would go to http://joinpd.com. Now we're doing it this way because you guys are all over the place as far as I don't have you in a single Google Classroom, an easy way to send it out. But in your class, you could just send this directly right here, give students a link right in Google Classroom. Here's the code that you're going to type in, SQYWY.
Would you say about that? How do you share this without using a code?
Yeah, so if I was going to do this in my Google Classroom, what I would do is I'd click this right here. See, it says give students a link.
I don't see where you're clicking. Oh, I see. Okay, give students a link.
Yep, and then when I click on that, it automatically copies, and then I would paste that link. I can actually do it here in this case. I can paste that right in the Google Classroom or the chat or whatever you're in.
So they don't have to join PD.
That's right.
.com, because that link will take them right to it.
Exactly right. Yep. Yep. We're going to do it this way only because I have some people that are outside the district with us today. So this will let everybody join. And I can see as a teacher right here, there's 8 students joined, 8 students connected. Cool. I can also open the teacher dashboard. This is the part that's new. New for the pro level. The pro level, that's different than the non-pro level, the non-paid version. So I can see right here, I have a dashboard. Now there's 2 components. There's the dashboard and the projector. That's how Pear Deck thinks of it. I'm going to click here on the settings down on the bottom right here. It says open projector to new tab. Projector means what are you sharing with your students? Now, they don't mean a physical projector. It could be kids that are remote, but you're projecting this slideshow. Alternatively, this here is the dashboard where I can see stuff. So I'll have these up so you can kind of see what they look like. But right now, we'll hide this. Okay, so I have a few students in here. We're going at my speed, meaning I'm controlling how fast it goes. I can click next. So some of you will see this. When you see this, you can, let me click on that. You can go ahead and move these around. Again, I can show responses if I want to. I can see where people are at. I can also lock the screens here. If I say, nope, you can't make a change right now, it's going to lock it. Or I can unlock it again, open it up. I can do a new prompt, which basically is a new question right in the middle of this. If we're going through a lesson and about halfway, someone says, oh, I want to find more information, that I could do a new prompt right here and kind of stick it in the middle of this. I can also click over here. I can open the dashboard in a new window. And so here it is. I already have it up here. And I can see, again, this might be something that I have myself that the students aren't seeing, but I'm seeing to see where people are at. Okay, so one thing, I don't know if you noticed that when I clicked on these three dots in the lower right, it also asked open dashboard on a new device. So you might have, let's say you have your Chrome bit up front and you're projecting this, but you have your laptop back here, and so you're seeing everybody in the room, whereas the students are only seeing, you know, what you're asking, the blank version, basically. We'll go to the next one. So again, same thing. You guys are dragging those pluses and minuses around. I can show responses. You can see where people are at. I'll go to the dashboard here. And I can also see individual students, right? So I can go through individual people. This is something you didn't have access to in the free version. When we're done, it will actually give you a report of each student. So you'll be able to see, like right now it's kind of a mess, like, oh, they're all in here, I don't know who did what. But in the report, you'll see individual students and what their responses were. So that's helpful that way. Same thing, this guy here, so I can show everybody, see people moving stuff around. Notice right here in the bottom right, click the three dots, turn on student paste. So at any point, I want to change this from instructor paste, meaning I'm controlling it, what slide is showing, to now the kids are on their own and they're going as fast as they want to or as slow as they want to. All I have to do is click on these three dots and I can turn that on to switch it over. Okay, so I'm doing the spacer in right now, so you can draw something and I can show responses. Here's another feature that you wouldn't have. I can see right here kind of a grid view and see everybody who's drawn. Right here, I can see as they're going the entire class at once. Again, this might not be something you share, but I can click on, there's Kelly's, there's Tracy's, there's Kitty's, Yvonne's. I can click on everybody's and see.
Where did you click to access that?
Yep, so I'm signed in as a teacher, right? So that's the pro version.
Yeah.
And then up here, this list will be like a list view over in the upper left. So this is one student at a time. I can scroll through them. So here's one student. Or if I click that little grid layout in the upper left, it will show me everybody at once.
Okay.
Here's all of them together. The other thing you'll notice, though, again, in this case, this is useless, right? But if I go to the next slide, and show responses, this actually might be a useful one where I start seeing where people put in. And actually, if I overlay these, this might be a useful thing because I might see, look, most people, not only did they say the blue was Azul, but they got the green one wrong or whatever, because it would show me as a class or as a group how they did. It's kind of cool to watch that live as people are entering those in. And I can, of course, see the individuals. All right. I'm going to end this lesson. We have one more here, but you guys have seen Pear Deck before because these kind of samples here. In the lower right, if I click end, it's going to ask me if I want to name this session, right? So we'll call this example A. Publish student takeaways. Okay, so what that is, and I'll show you an example of this too, is it will create a document with all their responses, and it will send it to you as the student. So if whatever answers you put in those places, you're going to get a document with that information in there. Again, I'll show you what that looks like. Let me save and publish. Okay, here's your takeaways. Again, I can share that to Google Classroom. I'm going to return home. If I go to...
Hey, Kern, is that the spot where you assign it to kids? Is that how you do it? Is you finish the session and save it?
No, you can assign it to them ahead of time. What this gives them, that final piece of it, it gives them their own results, what they put in. Not everybody else's, just their own. Okay, I can show you what that looks like. I'll do one from earlier. Hang on, let me pull up the page. All right, so if I just go to peardeck.com myself, and I'm signed in, teacher login, and sign in with Google account, your same school Google account right here, arch19.net. Notice right here it says sessions in the upper left, and I can see the different sessions that I have examples of. So here's the one we just did. If I want to go back and look at it later on, I click on that. I can open up the projector view. That's the view that you shared with them. This is the dashboard. This is your teacher view. So I'll look at the dashboard view. So I can go back through any of these at any time and kind of go back and relive and see, okay, who said what, which student, right? You guys, as students, will receive, and I'll pull up an example of one. This is what I did earlier just to kind of show what it's going to look like. So here's what you'll receive. So this is a Google Doc. It said Pear Deck sample. That was the name of it. I called this one, in my name. And then here's the information. So notice that slide. You recognize that slide? Here was the slide that it was asked. Here's where I put my information. Here's where I put my answers. Here's my answer for this one. Each student would receive their own answers that they included after when they're done. They'll get a published response of that. Okay, so I think as we're going here, it's going to get a lot more powerful, a lot more useful as far as, like, it was fine before to add that interactivity, but now you are able to look on it by the student and say, oh, okay, here's my information I shared, here's the different pieces I need them to know, and you'll see as a group or as an individual what they knew and what they didn't know. Everybody in R219 should already have, like, when you go to it, you'll have your you're the pro version, the premier version is district-wide. So a couple questions. If you change it from instructor pace to student pace, it still saves it as one report per student, correct? Yeah, so you can change it at any time. What most likely would happen is, let's say it's instructor pace during a lesson, live, like right now. And then when you're done, you're all done completely, you may want to turn it into student pace. So if a student later on wants to go through that and revisit that lesson and have that same interactivity, they could do it at their own. And again, that was just a click down the bottom right. You click those three dots and choose student pace rather than instructor pace. Is the shared takeaways only offered when the session ends? Yes. Basically what that means is you're giving the students their own results. What did they do? What did they fill in? So yes, that only happened at the very end.
Not sure why you'd want that. When would you? What's an example of when you'd want that? I suppose if you were counting it as a quiz or something, and you want them to have their quiz results.
That could be. Or here's one other example. So the one that I had from earlier. This would actually be kind of it for you. So this says, use this space to summarize your thoughts in this lesson. So if you want to kind of get feedback of how did it go, did this make sense? Did this work? Did this not work? This gives students to give one, they could type right here and put stuff in there. That's, again, you could share with you, but also they can see exactly what they did. So if they got something wrong or if they misunderstood something, you'd have that for them. And it's not really, it's not a big effort on your part. It's literally just a click. Like you just say, yes, share those or don't. It's up to you. Any other questions about Pear Deck or the new and improved, updated version?
Kern, I don't know if I'm just having a brain block or what, but I'm feeling really dumb. To use this is in the slideshows, right?
Correct.
And slideshows only.
Yep.
So if I do this and I want to share it with kids, I have to create a slideshow.
Yep.
And share it like I would with any other type of document.
Yep.
And the only difference is now I, ahead of time, use the manage add-ons to put in a Pear Deck type question.
Yep, exactly.
And when I finish the whole thing, like live during the class, at the end of the day, I go.
It's up to you. So let's say you have 10 slides you made on whatever topic it is, right? You did a math topic, so here it is, and you're done. You're good. all the Pear Deck layer on top of that add-on gives some kind of interactivity during the time. So if after slide 3, you want to just do a quick check to see if everybody understands, you could ask them, but you know, they're gonna be like, yeah, do everybody get it? Yeah, we all get it, sure. No, I want you to do this little thing, you know, depending on what you're talking about, but I want you to, maybe it's a question, maybe it's a drawing, maybe it's a whatever. And so you can kind of check for understanding really quickly, and they'll hopefully reinforce what you're trying to do. And if it works, great, you can keep on going on. If not, oh, we missed something. Like I can see right here that everybody got this one wrong. Let's talk about that before we go any further. It also gives those students that are remote a little bit of feeling like they're still part of the class, right? Because like, I don't know if you guys noticed that one with the map and the different stars one, whatever, you know, they're doing that live. So if their kids in class or kids at home, so it gets a little bit of that feeling, maybe not perfect, but a little bit of that feeling that they're still participating. When you're all done, you could just say, I'm done, stop, boom, good. If you want to, you can change that in that bottom right from instructor paste to student paste. And all that means is later on, maybe a student wasn't there that day, or some student just wants to look at it again or whatever, that slide deck, they'll get that same interactivity. They just will get it, you know, as they go, rather than they don't have to wait for you.
If I forget to change it and they go to look at the slideshow that I presented, will they get stuck? They can't go past the next. Okay.
Exactly. Yep. It'll just go because it's instructor page. It only goes as fast as you allow it to. So, yeah, and literally it's just a switch. And from your end, you say, oh, it was instructor paste. Now I want it to be student paste, and that's it.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, Yvonne did a great share. Control F works great to find student responses for large classes, for sure. Anytime you're searching, like, and this works in Google too, not just searching, you know, the web in general, but if you're searching within a page, Control F or Command F will search within a page itself. All right, so we are coming up quick. Again, I do want to be to honor the 1:30. I do want to just share about Padlet, so we've heard what this is. And again, you know what we'll do is we'll do a longer deep dive next week. Because we're not going to have a lot of time today. But what we will do is, I'll just show you what it is. We'll play with it a little bit. So Padlet is basically the idea of almost like a virtual whiteboard. Now, different than Jamboard. Jamboard, we know, we've used it before, we've played with it. It's a whiteboard that people write on, but it's very easy to get erased, or it's very fluid, right? It just kind of floats around there, and people write things and maybe erase it by accident or whatever. This one is more like, let's click on these, a little Padlet. It's more like, think of like a whiteboard that a bunch of your students had sticky notes. They could go up and they could leave different stickies for different purposes. You as a teacher may want to add resources. So maybe this is a board that you keep as you're going through a unit. Oh, like there's a link that we have, there's a good video we have, whatever it is. So this Padlet right here, this is just I created a new blank one. When you create one, let me jump back 1 second here. When I make a Padlet, it's going to ask me what type of Padlet is. Is this a wall where I just kind of put sticky notes type thing? Is it a canvas where things were kind of scattered around? You can float them around. Maybe it's a stream, like an informational stream, kind of like what we're using on our Google Classroom. Is it a back channel? I know in some of the high school grades, they want to use that in their class as a way for kids to communicate with each other on a project. So you use it for that. There's map involved with it, and there's a timeline here. So just think of it as a single web page, or a single place, a digital place that kids or you can add information to share with each other, but kind of stays up as a full wall. Obviously, there's this graphic element to it. So what we'll do today, and then again, like I said, we'll play with it more tomorrow, is I'm going to share this Padlet here, the one I created, just like a sample one. So I'm going to click here, share in the upper right. I could send it directly to a Google Classroom right here, sharing Classroom. But in this case, I'm just going to copy the link. And so if I put this back in the chat, you're going to click on that, and it's going to say, hey, you know, you have to sign in with your school account, right? But once you've gone through the process and signed with your school account and pull this up, you can click this little plus. I purposely made this one public so anybody can join it. But you'll click this little plus in the bottom right, and you'll have this box here where you could type something. You could add a link to a web page. You could add a picture right here. I could take a picture. Starting camera. Started using the camera, so it's not giving me that. I have all kinds of drawing. Here's a file upload, a film, a video, a voice. And so it's really a multimedia opportunity for kids to add things. I'll grab my other account. Somebody said, hello, everyone, anonymously. I will do a quick picture here. And you'll just see right here. This will just keep updating. There it is. I just got a picture right here to add. So it's an easy way to collect things. Like I said, if you want kids to do videos and text and pictures, here's another hello. Very good. Just put a gray box here. Thank you. Good. Knowledge is power. Yes, anonymous. Good job. In a classroom, I purposely allowed this to be open to be anonymous. Like I just made it public. But you can say, no, you have to sign in. And it would say who this person was. It wouldn't be anonymous. It would actually say the student's name right here. So you can imagine this would be useful to have as like, hey guys, we're working through this unit right now. We're learning about whatever. All the resources that we find put in one place. And this would be a good resource to have and they can share.
Hello.
We'll talk about next week. We'll do a little bit more deep dive into Padlet as far as some of the other tools, not just this as a kind of just a fun, place to put like stickies and so forth. But we'll do that for next week. All right. Questions before we wrap up for the day? Awesome. Well, thank you guys all. Just like always, this will be recorded and put on the site, the same place you got, the same link that you got to get on here. I will see you guys all next Wednesday. Have a fantastic weekend if I don't see you before then. See you next week.